it must be nice to, like, support just a calm and tranquil football club. Oh, how's it going, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel, Football Therapy, with me, your host, Jan. I should have fixed the audio buzz from yesterday's match review, so hopefully you hear my sweet, dulcet tones in good, high-quality audio with no buzz or hum in the background. Hopefully. Otherwise, I'm going to record this whole video and be a very sad man. Today, of course, big Raheem Sterling's statement. What he said, why he said it, and when he said it, or should we say when it was released, and, very interesting about when he heard about his omission. His relationship with the Chelsea manager, Maresca. Of course, there's been a huge pundit fallout. Does he need to go to bring in Joao Felix? Is this the plan? Joao Felix, a new signing that pretty much is agreed in the negotiations with Atletico Madrid, that just the final details, quote Romano, are being sorted out, which is probably like, how to trigger the bonuses and stuff like that. Which is pretty, as far as I'm concerned, that's like 95% gonna happen. 95% of the time happens every time. Maybe a little bit more on the game yesterday, or at least a stat that's going around that I feel like it's worth discussing. And we'll get into it today. And of course, there's been a tiny update on Osimhen. We can talk about that as well from Romano. Alright, strap yourselves in as always. I'll thank you for being here and supporting the content this here on a beautiful Monday morning. Thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing. We are indeed on the road to 200,000 subscribers. In fact, I'm just going to double check now what number we are on, because I think we're nearly 190. It was 187, so might be 2,500 or something to get over that 190. And then as we go through the season, let's try and get to 200,000 subscribers together. And what an amazing journey you and I have been on, eh? Lovely stuff. All right, let's not scare around anymore. This is what Raheem Sterling's people, his camp, it's always his camp, isn't it? Raheem Sterling's camp. And this is a statement. This happened yesterday, just before we kicked off our first game of the season against champions Manchester City, of course, his former club. It goes a little something like this. Raheem Sterling is contracted to Chelsea Football Club for the next 3 years. He returned to England 2 weeks ago to conduct early individual training and has had a positive pre-season under the new coach, who he has developed a good working relationship with. He is committed, as ever, to delivering at the highest level. Pause, bump the brakes. Committed to, as ever, delivering at the highest level for Chelsea. And the fans, who he holds in high regard. Oh, he likes the fans, that's nice. And given his inclusion in the official club pre-match material this week, our expectation was that Raheem would be involved in this weekend's fixture in some capacity, as in like maybe on the bench or something. As a camp, we have always had a positive dialogue with and assurance from Chelsea Football Club in relation to Raheem's future at the club, so we look forward to gaining clarity on the situation. Until then, we will continue to support Raheem's desire to start the new season positively. Well, that last bit there, I would argue this is not you supporting him starting the season positively. In fact, this is you helping him starting the season negatively, you would have to say. Chelsea's hierarchy, I'm going to go, Kieran Gill of the Daily Mail says this. Chelsea hierarchy are fully behind Enzo Maresca's his call, to cut Raheem Sterling out of the squad today. The 29-year-old winger, now this is important, Raheem was told on Friday before the weekend. And of course, as we know, many of us have heard the Chelsea manager since, it's been described as a football/technical decision. Sorry, I just sipped my tea there. I didn't want dead air of me just drinking on the recording. Yeah, so this is wild, bro. It's not like he would got to Stamford Bridge like do. I'm gonna play football. I'm not in the squad. He was told on Friday. Which for me is awful look. Now, of course, there was a post-mortem on this scenario at the end. I believe was it Daniel Sturridge, who I like as a pundit, by the way. Daniel Sturridge on Sky Sports, Mika Richards, and Jamie Redknapp. And even though Sturridge is this bro, they were like England strikers together or forwards together, weren't they? What was it, 2016 or 14 when they were like did loads of media with England together? Can't remember. So they've obviously got a relationship. But he was like, yeah, I don't really like it, sort of thing. But you could tell he was being very like careful. Whereas, Michael Richards is like, I love Raheem, but you can't be doing this. And then Jamie Redknapp was like, that's bollocks, mate. It's like, oh, did he come back and trade early? Good for him. Good. Do that. It wasn't at the Euros. Come back early. Train harder. It's up to you to impress the manager. You come to Chelsea. You're on a lot of money. You haven't been that great. You haven't been good enough. And Redknapp was dropping bars, to be honest. You haven't been good enough, and now you're putting out statements that you're not playing. Impress the manager in training. Now, look, I do want to be fair here and play devil's advocate, right? I do. We gave him that contract. We gave him £325,000 a week to leave Man City. The season before they went to go on and win a treble, and he'd never won the Champions League, and he was still being used by Pep. He just wasn't the superstar starter that he once was. So when he says, look, to Thomas Tuchel got on the phone and says, look, you are my priority signing. You are my number one target. You are my favorite girl, baby girl. Come on down, And he drank the Kool-Aid. But he also got paid the 325k. I don't know if that's drinking the Kool-Aid. That is taking the piece. But point being, we offered him that money, bro. We said, yeah, have this. And he's been professional. He's not done a Lukaku. I mean, this is not up there quite with Lukaku Sky Italia interview, but this is certainly going to not even divide opinion. It's a bad look. But up until now, he's been very professional. He's generally always reported back to pre-season early, done individual training to get into full fitness. He doesn't, argue for penalties like the kids does, Nico Jackson and Noni Madueke. He is an adult. He's seen as one of the quiet leaders in the dressing room. He trains well. He's always available, and he is, he's a sort of senior big brother figure. So look, he hasn't really done anything wrong, and I do think he tries. I don't think he's coming to Chelsea to sort of run about a bit. I do think genuinely he wants to make it work. I've been very firm on my opinion on this. I think he came to Chelsea thinking he could fill the void that Eden Hazard left, to be this kind of hero ball vibes player. Maybe he thought he can leave the what's the word? The automated football system that is Pep Guardiola's Man City. Granted, Tuchel's still very tactical, but there maybe might have been a bit more freedom for the inside 10s, and it's more the 4 and the 3 that do more of the defensive work. And he thought, yeah, I'll go to Chelsea, I'll be that guy, and I'll just score goals and, finally get back to London where my family's from, and, I've been up north for a decade, I can finally come home. It made sense. Turns out he couldn't be that guy. He couldn't be that sort of roaming number 10. He needs to be that system player. So if you guys watch the channel, I've speculated quite a lot recently that actually the Maresca style could suit him a lot better. And like he says in the statement, he thinks he has got a good relationship with Maresca, and he was shocked to be dropped, as it were. So devil's advocate, but I do think something's going on here. Firstly, is the statement good? Absolutely not. The statement's, even if Raheem's being duped here and he feels like he's done everything right and he's just being, coldly dealt with, like Chalobah, like Gallagher, like whoever else you want to pick in who's been cut out by these owners. I just don't think this is a good look. Most notably, do it today. If you've known it for 2 days, you're sitting down with his camp right, he's going to drop me in a couple of days' time. Let's release a statement just before kickoff against your former club, the Champions. That is intentional, that is destructive, and that is malicious, and that has damaged his position greatly. Who the ruddy heck thought that was a good idea, mate? Many people who don't like Sterling or who think he needs to go will almost be happy with this. We'll see it as the beginning of the end for him. Maresca was asked about Raheem. Do you want him? He says, I want Raheem Sterling, but I want all 30 players we have, said Maresca. There is no space for them all. Some of them, they have to leave. Wow! That's like saying, yeah, I love everyone, but not everyone can stay. And that is your, senior big boy, high-paid winger. And look, it is blowing my mind a little bit because I did think Sterling would be a Maresca player, like someone that you could lean on. That he'd probably say to the board or the sporting directors, actually, if I can keep Sterling, that'd be good for the first season at least. Senior player, he can play sort of city football and, is good at comedy. But he's almost been like, nah, ban this guy. And obviously it could be a briefing, but it's being presented as Maresca's technical decision. But are they all working together? Are they choosing to who falls on a sword? The sporting directors, the owners, and the manager and the coaching team. Messy. Look, again, I like Raheem. I do. I think he's a good guy. I don't know him, but from what I've seen him over the years, even at Man City and Liverpool, I think he's a good kid, good man now, good family guy, respectful professional. He's had a lot of grief from the English media needlessly over the years. I think he probably has been dealt a harsh hand by Gareth Southgate, especially there was a period when he was in form for Chelsea and he still wasn't being picked over, like Rashford, who was having the worst period of his life form-wise. I wonder, he's 29, he's playing for a big club in Chelsea, in London. I wonder if he's thinking, Southgate's gone. I'm still not 30 yet. I need to be playing football now. Like, if I've started the season well, I could be in the Nations League squad for England again and, playing for England again. I do have that sympathy with him, but this is not the way to do it. Right, let's move on. Right. A little bit more on the game yesterday. So, a stat that I found interesting, again, coming from Kieran Gill, saying this. Didn't go unnoticed that Chelsea were outrun by their opponents in 32 of their 38 Premier League games last season. Same again today. Manchester City can tend to let the ball do the work, but they put in a shift in, and they covered 111.4 kilometers, to Chelsea's 107. So yeah, they ran more than us, and obviously the inclination is, well, if you've got the ball, you're a possession side, you're going to run less, and maybe that was the case last season. But Man City are a possession side. We were playing against the ultimate possession side, and they had more possession in this game, and they run more. So that kind of thing falls down. He goes on to say, for what it's worth, Enzo Fernandez, who got a lot of heat yesterday, covered the greatest distance for Chelsea, 11.5 kilometres, which was the 6th most of any Premier League player over the weekend, followed by Caicedo and Palmer. They both did a lot. Yeah, 11.5 kilometres is a lot of running. That's like, when you've got prime Conor Gallagher after a Red Bull doing running. So I feel like he caught a lot of heat yesterday at Enzo Fernandez. Not his best game, not his best touch. But, yeah, I feel like he is going to be important. Of course, that was a huge controversial talking point that he was given the captaincy, Enzo Fernandez, yesterday. And that was put to Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca. Because a lot of people said, from the outside of Chelsea, he's under investigation. He's done this racist act. Typical Chelsea to give a racist, the captaincy immediately for the first game of the season. Which I think is just a bit of sort of ignorant optics. If you those who have followed the story meticulously will have understand the whole picture. The press conference from that affected of Leslie Fofana. And everyone, do you know what I mean? It was clearly an important and serious experience, a learning experience. But he said, look, the players respect him. He's a leader. He made a mistake, and I quite like how Maresca dealt with it. He was like, look, I don't know about you, almost saying, absolutely you knobhead. But I've made mistakes in the past. I've learned. I've moved on, and I've continued, and I've been able to reintegrate back into life and be a person. Do you know what I mean? He didn't say that. I'm paraphrasing, but it's almost like, yeah, he's recognised the mistake. He's made amends. The players look at him as a captain. He's captain. Get over it. Do you know what I mean? yeah, if you want my full take on yesterday's game, go watch my match review. That's live. Previous upload to this, it was the Sunday evening upload. And why I'm positive about Chelsea 0, Man City 2. And there are positives. I did expect, genuinely, not that I'm negative about the season, but for that first game against Man City, I was expecting a worse performance. Not necessarily a worse scoreline. 2-0 at home is a bummer, but context on both goals, really. And there was obviously positive moments, and as I said in that video, you know, again, go check it out. Chelsea did generate a higher expected goals than Man City in that game, which is classic Chelsea. All right, so yes, just to confirm, we are still in negotiations for high-profile transfers. Certainly, Conor Gallagher to Atletico Madrid and Joao Felix to Chelsea looks like it is going to be completed, which is interesting and exciting, I suppose. And then, of course, the people are still talking about Victor Osimhen. That's been spoken about by Fabrizio Romano on his YouTube channel yet again yesterday, and said, look, Chelsea would take him even now, but they want to take him on loan. They will take him. I don't know if it's a loan if a loan with an obligation is on the table for financial reasons, for accounting reasons, if Chelsea are interested in that. I wonder. I'm definitely high on Nico Jackson. I feel like he did a lot of good stuff yesterday. He's not fully fit yet. He was very, very close to being onside for a goal. You know, he should be onside, but he was very close. He was there. He was doing the right stuff. I'm very high on him. You just wonder how different that game is with Osimhen starting. You know, interesting to see how that happens. Yes, but Osimhen doesn't want a loan. He doesn't want to lower his wages, but the deal is not dead. And of course, as always, we will follow that story here on the channel, Football Therapy, and all developments as and when they come. Excuse me. And of course, there will be a lot because this is Chelsea. So thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and I'll hopefully see you back here very soon. Peace.